In the name of modernization, don't face away from your culture. And in the name of fashion, don't face away from your culture. Some people might opine that I am in complete opposition to the promotion of other culture, which is completely a misunderstood concept and wrong perception of those who think that way. I, being a student from political science discipline, democratically believes that globalization has transformed the world into a global village, and thereby it has not only led to economic or political integration, but also social integration to a great extent, and which is very democratic and wonderful. But culture, as a subject, is that distinct identity which makes us different and unique from the rest of the world. So what is culture if it's diluted? What is culture if those practices are endangering our core ideas and our practices or values? My dear fellow Nagas, how have we reached so far, yet so far away from our own? Who is to be blamed for? Please let us reconsider our actions. In the name of fashion, I repeat, let us not face away from our culture. Today we have reached such a place, and we know by practicing other culture we are gaining something from them. But let us ask this question, what are we losing in return? It's not just our culture we are losing, it's not just our tradition, but it is our history, it's part of you and me we are losing. And we have to feel a sense of guilt for that. And I sincerely hope so. But at times, we as a people are so blinded by what we think is right rather than what is actually right, and it's quite disheartening. Dear fellow Nagas, it is a humble appeal now. It is a humble call. Please, let us not simply walk because they are walking. Let us not blindly follow them. Because one day we might reach a place where we have no idea about, no idea of where we came from. And going back would be even more difficult. And as it is rightly said, the more we run after them, the further we are going away from our own home. And I would like to conclude my speech with this quote. You don't have to burn a book to destroy a culture. You just get people to stop using them. And I tell you, if we stop reading our culture or if we stop practicing our culture, we have to find an answer for our children and our forefathers for being so ungrateful for everything. Let us go hand in hand with modernization, development, and our culture. Thank you for listening. Long live Naga. You may enjoy.
It was last semester, April 2022, as a part of my final submission for my world music. That is a subject that deals with the study of musical history and culture around the world. So as a final submission, we were tasked to go to our own villages, conduct interviews, make documentations, score and notate our traditional music. And I have a confession to make right now. I am not a big fan of traditional music, and I never was. I knew that a traditional vocal form of music existed, which is called Li, in my Chagasan Chopi dialect, and that the tati usually accompanied the singing of the Li. But apart from that, I had no other intentions to further explore the field of traditional music. And for those of you who do not know what the tati is a one-string instrument belonging to the chordophone class under the Hombostel-Jacques classification. That is the modern instrument classification. So apart from that, I had no other intentions to further indulge in the field of traditional music. But however, this was about to change. And it changed when I traveled to my village, Tipuzu. And on reaching Tipuzu, I interviewed a 94-year-old man who was considered to be the only man who had any knowledge about this musical traditional history, who was confident enough. And on interviewing him, I learned something so striking. I learned that there existed a particular folk song which had parts, voice parts that would extend up to 6 parts. Up until today, I'm pretty sure we all know of only of the 4 vocal parts. That is the Western polyphony system. That is the soprano, the alto, the tenor, and the bass. And that discovery piqued my interest, and for the first time, I wanted to learn more about the traditional folk music. I found 6 men who were willing to perform the song for me, who were supervised and taught by the old man. And listening to that was one of the most unique experiences I've had in my life. I videotaped and documented that live performance, brought it back home, and began to transcribe it into musical notations, and this is what it looks like. The only way for us to preserve our cultural heritage, to save it and preserve it for the future generation. This very short adventure was not enough for me to experience and to uncover all the mysteries of this traditional world that I was so engrossed into now.
It is important for me to really connect and build relationship with the people of different generations that I live with, and for the society to progress as a whole. Generation X are considered those people who are born between the year 1965 to 1980. The millennials are considered between 1981 to 1996. And the Generation Z are those born between 1997 to 2012. Gloria Steinem stated, "We need to remember across generations that there is as much to learn as there is to teach." Generation X grew up during the transition from analog to digital technology. They witnessed the birth of cell phones and the internet. However, they are not dependent as the next generation. They were self-reliant. For instance, they can do mental calculations quite effortlessly and retain information better. They grew up with minimal adult supervision, quickly learning the values of independence and the work-life balance. On the other hand, the millennials are considered as the pioneers of the digital age. They are more tolerant of different races, religions, and diverse culture than the older generation. The millennials are considered the mediators who have seen and understood the previous generation and at the same time relate with the succeeding generation. For this, they are instrumental in bridging the gaps. Although they witness the rise of social media and the digital means of communication, they retain some of the positive traits of the earlier generation. For example, they deeply value quality time and family connections, unlike the next generation. Fortunately or unfortunately, has not seen the world without the internet. They grew up with lightning-fast internet connections from a very young age. I belong to this generation and we heavily depend on technology and have accepted it as a normal part of life. We feel handicapped without it. For example, the absence of internet will terrify us the most than the earlier two generations. This generation connects with the world more than the people within our community. As such, our way of life is easily influenced by popular culture through different types of social media platforms like the YouTube and the Instagram. Gen Z, on the other hand, are considered the most technologically savvy and pragmatic people. See, there is a great cultural and technological division between the previous and present generation. The adamant insistence of structure and rigid mindset of the older generation alienate themselves from the younger ones. And this disengagement from the present generation equally contributes to the widening of this gap. Charles Spurgeon stated, "Every generation needs regeneration." And so building communication to me is the initial step one can take to bridge this gap. Because I personally feel that this is a really very deep and profound way to really connect and compromise. However, this requires the core existence of patience, listening with respect, and learning their values. The world is changing and will continue to change. Adaptability and accountability is the key here. For example, the younger generations can be less dependent on technology and learn the struggles of hard work and the importance of moral values and respect for others. The older generation likewise can take some steps towards bridging this gap. They can be more open-minded and be willing to learn the importance of diversity and being dynamic. In fact, every one of us getting here today have a huge opportunity to help break this barrier. Only if we allow ourselves to see what each of us brings to the table and understand one another. Thank you so much, everyone, for your valuable time. I hope you have a great day.
Negatively affecting the Naga culture is education. For example, even as we study under NBSC and now NU, our syllabus are set in a way that glorifies the outside cultures like the Sangams, the Mughals, the Marathas, the Europeans, etc., we are made to believe that our past of arms and chieftains are not as glorious as the outsiders. In fact, ours was made to seem just like a story of savagery and an uncivilized system, a system which does not deserve to be in the place of college syllabus that we inherited from our past stands no chance in the face of the outside cultures, and that way the outside influence is easily able to sway the Naga culture and thus endangering our own culture in the process. Social media and its influences. As internet became more accessible, social media is now mass consumed. As we have our smartphones at the palm of our hands, the global village is now only a tap away. This meant exposure to the outside culture, be it Desi culture, European culture, Western culture, Korean culture, etc. The Nagas were not favored with the required time to taste and choose what they wanted, nor were they given the luxury of growing into modernity through a natural process, but modernity and its influence came at a flood forcefully, making its way into every aspect of our life. While on the other hand, we see the Naga culture of hospitality, moral standard, strong community feeling, degenerating in the face of capitalism and individualistic ideologies. Taking this opportunity, I want to present a couple of my humble suggestions to save our culture from the outside influence. If we can incorporate our Naga history in the schools and college syllabus, we can create awareness of our history among the younger generations. This, I believe, will instill a sense of pride and identity in our culture. Thus, we can save the Naga culture from the forceful onslaught of the outside influence. The government, NGOs, and civil societies need to recognize that the Naga culture needs immediate rescue, after which the collective and active effort is needed to make policies and create new initiatives aiming at sensitizing the Nagas and the need to preserve the culture, and also engage in meaningful activities to preserve the Naga culture. This way, the active cooperation from all fronts, be it organizations, public sectors. I want to state that I understand that culture is dynamic and thus cannot remain stagnant. So I don't mean to say that culture should remain as it has always been since time immemorial. However, for a culture to thrive, we should have the time to ponder what cultures are good for people. And those cultures should be integrated into our lives and our society. To make this happen, every one of us needs to collectively work to save our Naga culture from being endangered by the outer influence. Thank you so much.
The ceasefire agreement was signed between NSNIM and Government of India in 2001. The ceasefire agreement was signed between NSNK and Government of India. In February 2015, an agreement was signed between NSNIM and Government of India, and in November 2017, an agreement was signed between NNPGs and Government of India. The idea of sovereignty seems promising, but what could be the outcome is a question we must ask ourselves. As there are already two agreements signed, one in 2015 and the other one in 2017. And to make it even more complicated, on 31st October 2019, the Government of India said that the talk has been completed. What has been concluded? What has been concluded? As the slogan still says, solution before election, solution before election, solution before election. And talking about the solution before election, I, in my very opinion, does not agree with it. Because I believe that the 1998 history of solution before election will repeat again the same, and it's not worth it. The idea for making peace is real since from the very beginning. The idea to uplift the Nagaland is real since from the very beginning. There are many questions we still need to ask ourselves. Talking about constitution, talking about flags. Well, talking about constitution, do not forget that even the Indian constitution was framed after Indian independence. And here the NSNIM demanding the constitution is just out of the words. The constitution which they are making needs to be politicized to the public, as it is well for the welfare of our people. And it's not for the personal gain of NSNIM. The so-called educated Nagas, the so-called you and I, really don't care about this Naga sovereignty. Obviously, we might agree and disagree about this Naga sovereignty, but we really do not know about what Naga sovereignty is. And we really need to ponder upon this, because this is your future and this is my future. We talk about unity, we talk about solution, but there's no unity among us. Say, for example, during last month, the Naga Global Forum held a walk from Kohima to Manipur. And there were many criticisms. Why do we even criticize? If they have been doing good work for us, Nagas, why do we even criticize? Support them, encourage them, if it is for the good of Nagas.
In the early 20th century, when the whole world was preparing to go for war, the British people decided to send about 2,000 Nagas under the Naga Labor Corps 1917 to the First World War. And in there, the Naga people, the 2,000 Nagas, they formed camaraderie among themselves. They clearly they unambiguously stated to the Simon Commission to leave us alone as we were before. After the Second World War, the Naga delegates also approached Gandhiji and told him that we feel we are not a part of India. We would not be a part of India after independence. To which Gandhiji agreed. And he said that if you feel you are not a part of India, let the matter end there. And to that, the Naga delegates said that Gandhiji's people are threatening to use armed aggression against the Naga people if they do not join their union. To that, Gandhiji replied that he will be the first to get shot before any of his people kill us Nagas. But the Indian government, but his early and premature demise extended this issue to the present day. And the Indian Union, despite the plebiscite conducted in 16th of May 1951, where 99.9% of Nagas voted with a thumb printed in blood that they would not be a part of India and that they want a sovereign nation, the Indian Union, they ignored it and used armed aggression on us and committed various untold atrocities on us. You know, every group stands for a sovereign nation, every group in Nagaland. And I want to be a sovereign Naga in the Committee of Nations. I want to be a sovereign Naga in the Committee of Nations. Although our political talks are elusive and our future seems dim, I want to make sure that our generation and the generation to come is made aware of the Naga political struggle, and that someone from this period of time or in the future will bring about the solution, which is the birthright of each Naga. Thank you very much. Good night.
Entrepreneurship is not about always finding the right idea as much as it is about identifying the right problem and creating solutions to solve them. In modern days, entrepreneurship is all about solving problems which bring about social change or innovation product that challenges the status of the people in daily basis. The topic, Avenue for Young Nagas in Entrepreneurship. Avenue word meaning to make or to pave the way. For that, Nagaland, our beautiful state Nagaland. And when I say Nagaland, please don't judge me. I might not be a Naga by birth, but I'm a Naga by choice. And when it comes down to Nagaland, we cannot neglect that Nagaland, our state Nagaland is endowed with rich minerals ranging from coal, petroleum, to the discovery of platinum, to the prediction of even golds. You know, the aim of this policy is to provide an environment where the local entrepreneurs can come, gain knowledge, get access to funds, their startup will get capacity in terms of policy interventions. And the State Department of Industries and Commerce and the State Government of Nagaland has been made the nodal to implement this initiative.
Savior of all men,